Chapter 5. Micah, I'll call you later, Karen said, staring hard at Ethan. She hung up the phone and climbed to her feet. Ethan, hi. Hi. He shambled over to the couch, still avoiding her eyes. He tossed down his jacket, then shoved his hands into the pockets of his baggy, faded jeans. He wore an oversized pale blue V-neck sweater over a white t-shirt. His long black hair fell over his shoulders. He had a slender silver ring through one earlobe. Chris let me in, he explained uncomfortably. He dropped down onto the big armchair across from the couch. Karen lowered herself back onto the couch. She sat tensely on the cushion edge. Where were you last night? I called you, she lied. I told you, he replied sharply. I had to work. You know Ernie, that new bus boy they hired? He called in sick, so I had to take his shift. He ran a hand back through his long hair. I didn't get home till after 11. 11? I thought the shift ended at 12, Karen said, trying to sound casual, but not quite pulling it off. She fiddled tensely with the sleeves of her gray sweatshirt. The restaurant was empty, Ethan replied, because of the snow, so they let me go home. He sighed. Wish I could quit that job, but with my dad laid off, you know how it is. She nodded, studying the troubled expression on his face. He's so good-looking, she thought, with those soulful dark eyes, that broad forehead. I wish he'd smile. I love his smile so much. Why is he here? Karen asked herself. Why does he look so upset? That isn't like him at all. What does he want to talk about? Do I want to know? Maybe I don't want to hear it. A heavy feeling of dread rose up from her stomach. She could feel her neck muscles tightening. Whenever she felt stressed out, she immediately got a stiff neck. What did you want to talk about? She asked softly. Ethan hesitated. He slowly raised his eyes to hers. Well, the doorbell rang. Ethan let out a nervous laugh. Karen waited to see if Chris was going to answer it. When she didn't hear any footsteps, she hurried to the front door. She pulled the door open. Oh, hi. How's it going, Karen? Jake asked. She stepped aside so he could come in. Jake was Ethan's best friend. He was a tall, wiry, red-haired boy with long, gangly arms. He always reminded Karen of a grasshopper. Ethan appeared in the front entranceway behind Karen. Hey, there you are, Jake called to him. Jake had a funny, hoarse voice. A lot of kids called him Frog because of it. I've been trying to track you down, man, Jake told Ethan. Your mom said you might be here. Jake, what's your problem? Ethan asked, a startled expression on his face. Jake pulled a worn black leather wallet from his coat pocket. Here, man, this is yours. You left it at my house last night. Karen couldn't hold herself back. She turned angrily to Ethan. Huh? You were at Jake's last night? She demanded shrilly. Ethan's face turned bright scarlet. No, Jake held the wallet out to him. Ethan grabbed it and jammed it into his back jeans pocket. He was still blushing. Karen saw him flash an angry glance at Jake. What was Ethan doing at Jake's last night? Karen wondered. Why would he break a date with me and make up a lie about having to work just to go over to Jake's? I went over to Jake's on my way to the Sizzler, Ethan said finally. His face turned even brighter red. Jake nodded unconvincingly. Ethan is such a terrible liar, Karen thought miserably. Why is he lying to me? He never lied to me before. She took a deep breath. She decided she had to get the truth out of him. Hey guys, a voice interrupted from the top of the stairs. Chris hunched down so they could see him. How's it going? Leaning against the banister, he came halfway down the stairs. Ethan and Jake greeted Chris warmly. Ethan seems real glad for the interruption, Karen thought unhappily. Hey, come upstairs, Chris urged, a devilish grin spreading across his face. You can all listen in on this call I'm going to make. I'm calling this girl I met. Huh? You want us to listen in? Jake demanded, confused. What are you going to do? Call her up and make loud breathing sounds? Karen asked, making a disgusted face. That's your usual speed. Chris looked hurt. Hey, I wouldn't do that. He motioned for them to follow him, then started back up the stairs. You'll see. It's going to be really funny. Come on. But don't laugh, okay? Don't let her hear you. Ethan was the first one on the stairs. He hurried up after Chris, taking the stairs 2 at a time. He's desperate to get away from me, Karen realized. He's been caught in a lie, and now he's so glad that my stupid brother got him out of trouble. Jake started up the stairs after Ethan. He turned back to Karen. You coming, he called in his hoarse, raspy voice. I can't stand my brother's practical jokes, Karen told him, sighing, but I guess I'll come. Chris was already dialing the phone when Karen stepped into his room. Leaning over his desk, his sandy hair falling over his eyes, Chris grinned at her with the receiver to his ear. Ethan dropped onto the edge of Chris's unmade bed. Jake leaned against the closet door. Karen stayed in the doorway, her eyes on Ethan. These phone pranks Chris is always pulling are so dumb, Karen thought, frowning. Why does he think they're such a riot? Hello, is this Sarah Martin? Chris asked, disguising his voice, making it deeper. His devilish grin grew wider. This is David Reston, your world literature instructor. Jake let out a high-pitched giggle. Chris raised a finger to his lips, motioning for him to be silent. I'm so glad you're enjoying the class, Sarah, Chris said, keeping his voice as low as he could. But I'm afraid I'm calling with some bad news. Chris paused, listening to the girl's surprised reaction. Well, I'm afraid I caught you, Chris continued in his deep voice. I know that you plagiarized your term report. Jake slapped his forehead. He was struggling to keep from laughing out loud. Ethan had a big grin on his face. I don't think this is funny, Karen thought, standing stiffly in the doorway, her arms crossed over her chest. It's mean. Chris can be really mean. I'm sorry, Sarah, Chris continued, but I know where you copied your report from. You didn't really think you could get away with it, did you? That poor girl, Karen thought. She must be so upset. There's no point in denying it, Chris was telling the girl. I know you copied your report from that genius in the class, Chris Masters. Oh, brother, Karen said aloud, rolling her eyes. Chris burst out in laughter. Yeah, it's me. Hi, Sarah. You believed it was Reston, didn't you? Everyone in the room was laughing wildly, everyone except Karen. Sarah should hang up on him, she thought. Why is she being such a good sport? Chris was waving his hand, motioning for Karen and the two boys to leave. Now that the joke was over, he wanted to talk to Sarah in private. Ethan and Jake followed Karen out of the room, still giggling about Chris's joke. Your brother is a riot, Jake told Karen. Ha ha, Karen replied sarcastically. You don't have to live with him. They stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Know what he did this morning? Karen continued. He put a fried egg over his eye. Ethan and Jake both laughed. You think that's funny? Karen demanded. I think it's pitiful. The boys laughed again. Then Ethan's expression turned serious. Karen saw the light fade from his brown eyes. Jake reached for the door, intending to leave. Karen decided she had no choice. She had to know what was troubling Ethan. Ethan, why did you come over? She asked in a trembling voice. What did you want to talk to me about? Chapter 6. Ethan tossed his long hair behind him with a flick of his head. Jake pulled open the front door. Come on, Ethan. He tugged Ethan's sleeve. You promised you'd help me shovel snow. Oh, yeah, Ethan replied. He picked up his jacket. Then he raised his eyes to Karen. I'll call you later, okay? See you, Jake called back to her. He pushed the storm door open, and both boys headed out into the snow. Karen stood and watched them from behind the glass door as they made their way to Ethan's red Bonneville. Jake reached down with his long, gangly arms and scooped up a handful of snow from beside the driveway. He heaved it at Ethan without bothering to form it into a snowball. The snow made a white streak on the back of Ethan's jacket. To Karen's surprise, he just kept walking. He didn't bother to retaliate. Something has really got Ethan upset, Karen knew. He didn't act like himself at all just now. Did he come over to tell me he wants to go out with Wendy Talbot? Did he come over to break up with me and then lose his nerve? The cold seeped in from outside. She slammed the front door shut, but the white glare of the snow stayed in her eyes. She blinked, waiting for her eyes to adjust. Then she hurried to the kitchen to phone Micah and tell her to come over. Micah obediently arrived, about half an hour later. She had her thick blonde hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She wore a white sweater over black leggings. Micah stretched out on her back on the couch in the den, holding one of the square couch pillows between her hands. Karen sat cross-legged on the carpet, her back against an armchair. Karen, lighten up, Micah scolded. You are probably making the whole thing up. No, I'm not, Karen insisted glumly. She rubbed her neck. The muscles had all tightened up. You really think he came over here to tell you about him and Wendy? Micah tossed the pillow up and caught it in both hands. He had the strangest look on his face, Micah, Karen said. You know how laid back Ethan always is. Not today. I could tell he was upset. Micah tossed the pillow up again. She let it drop through her hands, onto her stomach. He was probably just tired, Karen. You know, from working so late. Karen sighed. She stared down at her woolly white socks. When she finally spoke, her voice came out shrill and angry. If Wendy tries to steal Ethan from me, I'll kill her. I really will. Whoa. Micah sat up abruptly, lowering her feet to the floor. She tossed a pillow at Karen. It bounced off Karen's shoulder. Stop talking like that. I mean it, Karen insisted. If Ethan breaks up with me because of her... Listen to yourself, Micah interrupted. Her green eyes locked on Karen's. Listen to how crazy you sound. I'm not crazy, Karen protested in a shrill voice she didn't recognize. How old are you, Karen? You're 17 like me, right? Karen nodded. We're only 17, Micah continued emotionally. We're both going to go out with lots of guys. No, I want Ethan, Karen cried. She grabbed the pillow off the floor and heaved it against the wall. I want Ethan and no one else. I'll kill Wendy. I mean it, Micah. I'll kill Wendy. I really will. On Monday morning, Karen woke up early. She pulled herself out of bed and made her way to the window. The sky had finally cleared. A red morning sun was lifting itself above the bare trees. She dressed quickly, jeans and a sweater over 2 t-shirts. Then she gave her short, dark hair a quick brush, studying her pale face in the dresser mirror, and hurried downstairs. Adam will be waiting for his tour of the school, she remembered. Then maybe she could catch Ethan and talk to him before homeroom. She gulped down a tall glass of orange juice, her usual breakfast. She could hear her mother bustling about in her bedroom down the back hall, getting ready for work. Karen spotted her boots by the kitchen door where she had left them to dry. Pulling a kitchen stool over, she sat down, pushed her left foot into the boot, and started to scream. Chapter 7. Chris, I hate you, Karen shrieked. She let the boot fall to the floor and rubbed her wet sock. Her brother had filled her boots with snow. You creep, you stupid creep, she cried. Before she realized it, she felt hot tears running down her cheeks. Chris and their mother both appeared in the kitchen doorway at the same time. Karen? What on earth? Mrs. Masters cried, her dark eyes narrowed in concern. Karen's shoulders were heaving up and down. She tried to stop crying, but she couldn't. It's not funny, she choked out, pointing at the boots. Chris, you made your sister cry? Mrs. Masters demanded sharply, turning to Chris. It was just a joke, Chris replied with a shrug. She's unbalanced, Mom. Look at her. She's really unbalanced. Karen found Adam waiting in the front hall at school. He greeted her with a smile, his dark eyes coming to life behind his black-framed glasses. He seemed skinnier than the last time Karen had seen him. He wore his rust-colored hair very short. His chin was dotted with small red zits she saw. He had a loose-fitting, hooded gray sweatshirt pulled over black denim jeans. Karen dropped her coat at her locker, then led her cousin on a quick tour, starting with the gym and lunchroom in the basement and ending up at the wood shop and back on the first floor. So, how do you like Franklin Hill so far? Karen asked. Adam shrugged. So far, so good. He seems as shy and strange as ever, Karen thought. We've known each other our whole lives, but he's as awkward as if he had just met me. I just have to remember that the gym and lunchroom are downstairs and the auditorium is upstairs, he said, scratching his bristly hair. I didn't have time to show you the science lab or the computer room, Karen said, glancing at the clock above their heads. They're on the 3rd floor. The hall had filled up with kids eager to stash their coats and get to homeroom. I'll walk you to your homeroom, Karen offered, shouting over the sound of slamming lockers and loud voices. Then maybe I'll see you later. I want you to meet my friend Micah. Adam nodded solemnly. Your homeroom is right down here, Karen told him, starting down the hall. She stopped when she saw Ethan. He had his backpack slung over the jacket of his blue and gray Franklin High jacket. He was talking to someone, Karen saw, struggling to see him through a crowd of kids. He was talking to Wendy Talbot. They were laughing together. Wendy had her hand on the sleeve of his jacket. So it's true, Karen thought, holding in a sob. It's true. The crowded scene blurred. The kids shimmered away. The roar of laughing, shouting voices faded to silence. Karen stood alone. Darkness fell over her like a heavy curtain descending. I'm alone, she thought. Everyone has disappeared. Everyone. The voices slowly returned, low at first, then loud as before. The darkness lifted. Someone bumped Karen's shoulder. A girl was shouting, Michael! Michael! Has anyone seen Michael? Karen could only see Ethan. He and Wendy turned away from her, walked side by side in the other direction. They disappeared around a corner. Karen, are you okay? Adam was asking. Karen? She stared down the blurred hallway. Were those tears in her eyes that were making everything shimmer and bend? Karen, are you okay? Adam demanded. Staring straight ahead, unable to focus, her knees trembling with the walls, her heart thudding in her chest, the floor twirling beneath her, Karen knew the answer was no. Micah had been flirting with two boys at the next table. Now she turned back to Karen. You haven't touched your lunch, she said. I know. I can't eat, Karen replied. She crumpled the tin foil over her sandwich, squeezing it into a tight ball. Wait a minute. What is it? Micah asked. Is it tuna fish? I don't even know, Karen sighed. She jumped to her feet, the chair nearly falling over behind her. Karen, where are you going? Micah asked, startled. We still have 20 minutes. I'm going to find Wendy, Karen replied in a flat, low voice. The room started to blur again as she said Wendy's name. I'm not going to cry, Karen told herself, biting down hard on her lower lip. I'm not going to cry in front of everyone in this crowded lunchroom. Karen, sit down, Micah said sternly. She pointed to Karen's chair. I mean it. Sit down. You're not going anywhere. Karen didn't budge. Micah's firm tone turned pleading. Let's talk, okay? Sit down. Let's talk. No, I'm going to find Wendy, Karen said softly, her voice revealing no emotion at all. But Karen, you can't, Micah cried. She'll just laugh at you. You'll feel like a jerk, Karen. Karen, listen to me. Karen didn't reply. She turned and walked toward the lunchroom exit, taking long, determined strides. She could hear Micah calling to her, but she didn't turn around. A group of cheerleaders were huddled outside the lunchroom, laughing loudly about something. From down the hall, Karen could hear the thud of basketballs from the gym. Walking quickly, she passed several closed classrooms. Some kids didn't have lunch until the next period. What would she say to Wendy? The question jarred through her mind, made her slow her pace. I'll tell her there's no way she can have Ethan, Karen quickly decided. I'll just tell her. She grabbed the metal railing and started up the stairs to the first floor. Two girls heading down the stairs called out hello to her as they passed. Karen didn't reply. Wendy, where will I find you? She thought. To her astonishment, Wendy appeared at the top of the stairs. She was carrying a huge sculpted head in both hands, some kind of art project. Wendy, hi, Karen called breathlessly. Karen's heart seemed to jump up into her throat. She could feel the blood pulsing at her temples. She stepped up beside Wendy on the top step. Wendy's straight red hair glowed in the sunlight from the window against the front wall. She turned her gray-green eyes on Karen. How's it going? How's it going? The words repeated in Karen's mind like an ugly, threatening chant. How's it going? You know how it's going, Wendy, Karen thought, suddenly bursting with fury. There was a flurry of motion, a ripple, and then thrashing arms. And suddenly Wendy's sculpted head was flying in the air. And Wendy was falling backwards, her hands reaching for Karen, grabbing only air. The papier-mâché head bounced down the hard steps. Thud, thud, thud. Wendy bounced beside it, head first. She let out a low cry each time her head hit a step. Horrified low cries all the way down to the bottom. Then she lay sprawled on her back, her arms outstretched, one leg bent under her, her red hair splayed around her unmoving head. Karen stared down at her from the top step, her hands pressed tightly against her hot cheeks. Have I killed her? Karen wondered. Chapter 8. Did I kill her? Karen asked herself. Did I push her? Did she fall, or did I push her? Karen couldn't remember. The two girls who had been walking down the stairs were huddled over Wendy. Karen didn't move from the top step. I didn't push her, did I? She fell. I'm sure she fell. Down below, Wendy groaned, her eyes still shut. The two girls suddenly raised their eyes accusingly at Karen. No, I didn't push her, Karen shouted. She fell. I didn't push her. And then Karen was running down the hall. Her blue Doc Martens slapped the hard floor as she ran. I didn't push her. I'm pretty sure I didn't push her. I don't remember. I don't really remember. Where was Karen running? She wasn't sure. She just knew she wanted to run forever. Karen, could you come downstairs, please? Her mother's voice invaded Karen's room. Karen made her way to the bedroom door and opened it a crack. Mom, I told you I'm not hungry. I can't eat dinner. Karen had hurried home from school and shut herself up in her room. She glanced at the clock radio. Nearly 7 o'clock. Her eyes moved to her backpack, laying unopened on the floor beside her desk. What have I been doing all this time? She asked herself. I haven't done any homework. I was lying on the bed, I remember, staring up at the cracks in the ceiling. Did I fall asleep? Karen, come down, her mother insisted. Or shall I come up? Karen pressed her cheek against the bedroom door. What do you want? She called down wearily. To talk, her mother shouted from the bottom of the stairs. Karen sighed. She didn't want to talk. She couldn't talk. What was she supposed to say to her mom? Guess what, Mom? Ethan got interested in another girl, so I pushed her down the stairs today and tried to kill her. How would that go over? She hesitated, her face still pressed against the door. Her mother's footsteps were light and rapid on the stairs. Karen backed away from the door. Mrs. Masters entered, her dark eyes stopping on Karen, her bird-like features set with concern. Mom, I'm okay. I'm just not feeling well, Karen said, backing up. That was Micah on the phone, Mrs. Masters said, crossing her skinny arms over her chest. She wore a lime green turtleneck over black corduroy slacks. Huh? Micah? She called? Karen shook her head hard, as if trying to clear it. Why didn't you tell me? She called to speak to me, Mrs. Masters replied softly. Karen wrinkled her forehead, bewildered. She slumped down on the top of the bed. How come? Mrs. Masters took a few steps toward her, her arms still crossed tightly in front of her. Micah told me you had a little trouble in school today. Her voice caught on the last word. She coughed and cleared her throat. She did? Karen was confused. What had Micah said? Why had Micah called? What did Micah think she was doing? Do you want to tell me about it? Mrs. Masters asked, her dark eyes piercing so deeply into Karen's that Karen had to look away. Not much to tell, really, Karen muttered. Why don't you leave me alone? Just go away and leave me alone? Micah said you made threats about some girl, a girl named Wendy, her mother said, clearing her throat again. Threats? Not really threats, Karen replied, staring down at the worn brown carpet. Micah said you made threats in the lunchroom? Then, a few minutes later, this girl fell down the stairs. Micah said the girl had to be taken to the hospital for x-rays. That she has a concussion? Just a slight concussion, Karen muttered. She's going to be okay. But some kids saw you there? Some kids think you pushed her, Mrs. Masters said softly, her eyes burning into Karen's. That's what Micah told me. No, Karen cried. No, that's a lie. That's a stupid lie. She had meant to stay calm, but her words burst out in a shrill screech. Her mother's mouth dropped open for a second, revealing her surprise. Her dark eyes flashed, then quickly dimmed. Karen, you can talk to me, she said with feeling. She walked up to the bed and placed her hands on Karen's shoulders. You know you can talk to me, don't you? She repeated softly. You can tell me what's troubling you. I know, Mom, Karen whispered. Mrs. Masters leaned down to hug her. Karen sat stiffly, enduring the hug, not moving, thinking about Micah. Well, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm here, Mrs. Masters said softly. As her mother turned to walk slowly from the room, Karen began to tremble. It took her a while to realize she was trembling in anger. She leapt to her feet, closed her door, and began pacing rapidly back and forth, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. How could Micah do this to me, she wondered. How could Micah betray me like this? I thought she was my friend, my best friend, someone I could trust. So how could she rattle me to my mother? Why did she call behind my back and tell my mother what happened today? Karen reached for the phone. She grabbed it with such force, she knocked it onto the floor. The receiver bounced across the carpet. The dial tone buzzed angrily as she stooped to retrieve it. Her heart pounding, she punched in Micah's number. Micah picked up after the first ring. Hello? Micah? Why? Karen cried breathlessly. I don't get it. Why did you do it? Why did you call her? I thought I had to, Micah answered quietly, calmly. Are you okay, Karen? You sound terrible. Why? Karen repeated. Why did you tell my mom? For your own good, Micah told her. I'm worried about you, Karen. Really worried. I thought your mother should know. Karen could feel her anger rise up, take over. She was losing control, and she didn't care. You betrayed me, she shrieked into the receiver. Now, wait, Micah started to protest. You're not my friend. You're not. Don't ever talk to me again. Karen slammed down the receiver. She realized she was gasping for breath. Micah isn't my friend anymore, she said aloud in a choked voice. Micah isn't my friend. Ethan is the only one I have left, Karen thought, struggling to slow her racing heart. struggling to make the throbbing in her temples go away. She rubbed her stiff neck with both hands. Ethan is the only one left, she told herself. Ethan squeezed the steering wheel with both hands. He shook his head bitterly. I can't believe I missed those 2 foul shots, he sighed. Karen reached across the seat and placed a comforting hand on the shoulder of his blue and gray school jacket. We won anyway, Ethan, she said softly, so it really didn't matter. It mattered to me, he replied sharply. They both stared out into the darkness. It was Friday night, and he had driven her home after the game. Parked in her driveway, Ethan left the lights on and the engine running, as if he were eager to leave. Want to come in? Karen asked. He scowled, still thinking about his missed foul shots. No one's home, Karen added. My brother has a date. My mom is visiting her cousin. It was a bad night, Ethan murmured. I didn't get any rebounds either. The ball just didn't bounce my way. Come on, Ethan. We won, Karen cried impatiently. She tugged his sleeve. Are you coming in or not? His expression changed as he turned to her. He tossed his long hair behind him with a flick of his head. His hands tapped the wheel, pounding a nervous rhythm. Karen, there's something I have to tell you, he said in a strange, tight voice. You're not going to like it, but I have to say it anyway. Chapter 9. Karen's breath caught in her throat. She suddenly felt cold all over. I think we should start seeing other people, Ethan blurted out, speaking quickly, slurring it all into one word. He stared straight ahead, avoiding her eyes. Huh? Karen uttered. She had been expecting it, but now it came as a total shock. Was he really breaking up with her? We could still go out, Ethan said, turning sheepishly to her. I mean, we could go out a lot. I still really like you. I mean, we always have so much fun together. We could still go on our bike rides and everything. But, Ethan, what are you saying? Karen cried. She wanted to hold herself together, but her voice came out shrill and choked, and her shoulders were starting to tremble. He slid his hands tensely over the wheel. I just think we should see other people, too. There's no reason why we can't. No reason, Karen shrieked. No reason? Karen, calm down, okay? Ethan said impatiently. Can't we just talk? Talk? What's there to talk about? Karen cried. I can see your mind is made up. Karen, please. We've always been able to talk to each other. That's one thing I really like about you. What's there to talk about? Karen screamed. A wave of anger swept over her. She felt so angry, so hurt. She had a strong impulse to grab Ethan by the shoulders and shake him until he understood what he was doing to her. We can still go out some Saturday nights, Ethan offered weakly, and we can still play chess and... Shut up, Karen cried, surprised by the violence of her feelings. Shut up, just shut up, Ethan. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Are you breaking up with me or not? No, he replied instantly. I mean, well... I didn't push her, Karen shrieked. I didn't push her. She fell. Ethan gaped at her in shock. Tears rolled down Karen's face, blurring her vision, putting Ethan behind a wet curtain, making him seem far, far away. Karen, calm down, he pleaded, grabbing her hand. Calm down. I didn't mean... She jerked her hand away. You can't break up with me. You can't, she insisted, sobbing loudly. Ethan shook his head helplessly. I only said... Shut up. I heard what you said. Karen grabbed the door handle and pushed the door open. A gust of cold air brushed her hot face. Her tears blinded her, making the darkness appear to swim in front of her. You can't, she screamed. Without realizing it, she had stumbled out of the car. Karen, you're totally out of control, a voice said inside her. Karen, if you don't get control, you'll lose Ethan forever. But how can I? She asked herself. Her legs felt weak. Her knees were quivering. Her chest heaved with each sob. I'll call you later, Ethan said, reaching to pull the passenger door shut. Try to get yourself together, okay? I'll call you when I get home, and we can talk. Karen turned and ran sobbing around to the back of the house. Ethan's headlights rolled over her as he backed down the drive. Crazy thoughts strangled through her mind as she fumbled in her bag for her house key. Crazy, frantic thoughts. I won't let him break up with me. I'll kill him first. I really will. Maybe I did push Wendy. I don't care. What can I say to him? How can I make him change his mind? Finally, she pulled out the key and managed to push it into the lock with a trembling hand on the third try. She pushed open the kitchen door and closed it quickly behind her. The kitchen smelled of oranges. The house was dark. She ran to the stairs without turning on any lights, her heart pounding, her eyes still blurred by tears. She ran up to her room and dropped face down on top of her bed. "Doesn't Ethan realize how much I care about him?" she said aloud. She buried her face in the pillow to stifle her sobs. Her crazy thoughts bounced through her mind. She gave in to them, made no attempts to stop them. After a while, she realized she still had her coat on. She climbed to her feet, breathing hard. She had stopped crying, but all the tears had given her a sharp headache at both temples. Rubbing her temples, trying to rub the pain away, she made her way across the room. She clicked on the light and cried out. Her old teddy bear had been hung by the neck in the cord to the Venetian blind. It drooped limply, its head tilted, its one remaining black eye staring across the room at her. "Chris, you stupid jerk!" Karen shouted. "How can he be such a creep?" she asked herself bitterly. As she started across the room to rescue the old bear, the phone rang. "It's Ethan," she realized. "What am I going to say? What? Got to think clearly. How can I make him see how much he means to me?" She picked up the phone in the middle of the second ring. "Hello?" Her voice came out a soft whisper. "Karen, it's me, Ethan. I just, wanted to see how you were doing." I'm better," she stammered. "You just surprised me, that's all." "I'm sorry," Ethan replied, but with little feeling. "This is hard, Karen. I hope—" "I'm sorry I acted like such a jerk," Karen interrupted. She rubbed her throbbing temple with her free hand. "I didn't mean to scream at you like that. You must think—" "No, don't worry about it," Ethan said. "I'm just glad you're okay now. I mean, you sound calmer." "Yeah, I guess," Karen replied. "It's just that—" "Well, good night," Ethan said. He sounded very eager to hang up. "See you in school." "Wait, Ethan, I just want to say something to you. I just want to say—" Karen was interrupted by a loud clicking sound. "Oh, hold on, Ethan," she pleaded. "There's a call on the other line. It might be my mother." More clicking. "I hate call waiting," Karen said. "It always interrupts at the wrong time. Hold on a sec, okay?" "Okay," Ethan agreed. More clicks, then silence. When Karen returned to Ethan a few seconds later, her voice was trembling and weak. "Ethan, please, come over here right away." "Karen, what's wrong?" Ethan demanded. "I'm all alone here, Ethan. Please, hurry." "He said he was going to kill me." "Huh? Who?" "The voice on the phone. It was so horrible, Ethan. He said he was going to kill me."